Mark here from Green Tree Games. As promised, we're going to do an overview of the game, of Game of Thrones, 2nd edition. So we did the unboxing, that went well. We've set the board up to have a quick playthrough. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to go through a turn, go through the rules to give you an idea. It's not going to be exact, I'm not going to go into every single rule, but it's to give you an idea as to how it plays. So I've set the board up, I've set it up for 3 players. So it's up to 6 players, and what you do is it tells you which houses to play if you're on 3 players. So 3 players is you've got Starks, Lannisters and Baratheons, and then if you do 4 players it's a specific house that you have to bring in. The reason for that is, if you have a look on the board, I'm going to do a zoom in, these little tokens here show areas that are either out of limits or have neutral forces on. And if you see, there's little 3s on all the counters. So that means in a 3-player game, you use those counters, you put those down, and if you can see, it effectively sort of like marks that territory off. So this is where the game's being played. So another player, you'd put the 4 to 5 tokens on, and it would probably bring it down there, I imagine. So yeah, so that's the setup. We've put all the little men out already. We've got, I don't know where the cameras are, I'll put my hands here. So we've got knights, I'm going to say horses, but that's not very fancy like, is it? So knights, footmen and ships, okay. There's lots and lots of symbols on the board, but we'll go into that as we sort of go through the game really. The things that we're worried about, the things that we want to look for are the strongholds and the forts. Terminology is right there. Strongholds and castles, because that is the key to victory. Basically, you win this game by either capturing 7 of them, all told, or by having the most of them when it reaches round 10. And again, if you have a quick look down on the board here, we've got a little turn tracker, so we can move that along as the turns go by. We'll get to round 10, and then we've got a victory track where we can put our tokens on the relevant strongholds that we hold. I suppose if we still focus on the board a minute, we've got a supply track here, which we'll get into as the video goes on. I'll tell you more about that. And here's probably one of the most important features of the game really, it's the influence track. Rather than it just be a game of combat and just wading in and mashing each other, much like the book, I guess, and the TV show, it tries to involve politics and bickering and infighting, and it does it quite well. The way this works is you can bid, well, I'll get into it when we do the rules proper, but you can bid to position on this track, and the more influence you have, you can determine decisions, and you can have alliances with people. So if you're if you have to make a decision and you favour somebody, and you're quite high up on this track, people want to be on your side, people want to be nice to you because you'll be able to affect the outcome of things. So that's quite cool, but we'll get into that. Now, it's a big game. There's not tons of rules, but I probably can't cover everything, so I'll just cover as much as I can so you can get an idea. So what would happen, if it was a normal turn ongoing, we'd use these little Westeros cards here, but the very first turn of the game you don't use those, so we'll just ignore those for now. What you do is for every territory that you own, you put down an order counter. Each side has a limited amount of order counters, so if you've got loads and loads of troops, you can only put down the order counters that you have. And you've also got a limited amount of each type. So just to show you, put them on the board here, we've got march orders of varying abilities. We've got raid orders, got consolidate power orders, support orders and defence orders. Okay, and that's how many that you've got to play with at any one time. So it's pretty simple really. March orders, so say for example these little guys here on House Stark, I put the march order down, put it face down so nobody knows what your order is, so there's an element of surprise. And the march order, when you resolve it, it basically means that your guys can move out and you can move to an adjacent territory. Okay, so if I wanted to move over there, I could do. Now, the reason for moving out, it's not like other games like Risk, I imagine, where you've got to try and you hold the territory as you go along. You can do, but again, the important thing is the castles. So you want to move and occupy the castles and the strongholds. So that's the march order. The raid order, that's good. That's fun. If there's somebody near to you or adjacent to you that has a consolidate power or a support token, you can scupper them, and you can, by having a raid order, you can take that power away from them. A consolidate power order, if you have that, basically that brings back a power token. Talk about those in a minute. They're very important as well. Defence, if you have defence, it just means you can't go anywhere, but if somebody tries to attack you, you're going to be a little bit harder, which is good. And support. Support is good. It means you don't go anywhere, but if there's any combat around you, any combat in an adjacent territory, you can offer to help that person. And it can be the attacker or the defender. And this is where the politics comes in, and the allying with people and backstabbing. It's brilliant. Planning phase, assign orders. So everybody in theory would put their orders down. So we've not got a lot of counters here, have we? So we're quite early in the game. So we'd probably just put a march order there and a march order there, because we're just going to want to wade in on it to begin with. So let's just go through the motions a little bit. March orders. Lannister appears not to have any. March order. These little stars are quite important as well, but I'll tell you about them in a minute when we get to that track down there. So you'd all put the orders down. Then you reveal the orders. No, I used the Lannister one there. Apologies, you get the idea. You reveal the orders. At that point, you don't do anything yet. Everybody's revealed the orders. Whoever controls the Raven Messenger, and to begin with in this game it's the Lannister, has the option of swapping. Once all the orders have been seen, it can swap one of his orders with an order in his pool. So it's a little bit of an advantage. That gives you the heads up on what's going on. So all revealed, and then you start to resolve orders. You resolve the raid orders first. So in the example I had here, say a Lannister has come over to here, and I have a consolidate power, and he flips over a raid. He can then use that in the raid phase to say, no you don't, I'm going to raid that territory, and you can no longer consolidate that power. So that's quite cool. If I had a support there, and say it's quite possible that I would use that to support my own guys in combat, he can use a raid to get rid of that. So raid is cool. So you do a raid first, then you resolve any march orders. So these guys that had march on, I could, in theory, let's move Lannister back here. If they had a march, I can move them down here. I still have control of that. That's my starting territory. I've got my little symbol there, so I don't lose control of that castle. But by moving there, that does mean I do get a castle, and I can move myself up one on the little rule there. So again, I'm making progress. That would be good. And resolve consolidate power orders. So any consolidated power orders, these little crowns, any territory you use them on, you get to pull back a power token. So you start off with 5. If you use that on a territory there, you get 1 back. If you use it on a territory that's got a little crown, you get 2. The idea is this represents your strength and the political sway and the cash and your influence in the realm. So the more you have, the better, because when it comes to vying for positions on the track, you know, for vying for the kingdom, the more you have, the more options you have, which is good. So that's consolidate power. And then you clean up and then you start again. So, question. We didn't fight anybody then, did we? So, fighting. Very straightforward. If you notice, there's no dice. It's a diceless system. You can add a bit of randomness into it if you want. But for strategy buffs that want to be absolutely sure of the tactics before they go ahead, combat is all done by number crunching. Basically, you can work out more or less the stats beforehand. So again, march order would have been given. You would have then marched onto an enemy. Again, the starting game, we're nowhere near anybody yet. It would take a while for this to happen. You'd march in. what you do is, first of all, you call for support. So like I say, anybody that around that has a support token, can be any side, you can actually say, can I have support? And then they might say, yeah, if you support me in this future battle, or you can work there amongst yourselves. You ask for support, then you work out the combat strength. So each token is worth a different amount of strength, obviously. Some are better than others. I'm referring to the rules here. The footmen are worth 1 combat strength, now it's worth 2. Siege engines, if you're attacking a castle, are worth 4, otherwise not worth anything. So that'd be 1 versus 3, so there we go. We'll say nobody's supporting. We then get to use something called house cards. House cards, every house has 7 of them, and they represent figures from the novels. And they give a strength bonus. They also have effects. So let's say I'll use this guy who has a strength of 2, so that I'd add, it's an overkill, I probably don't need to. But you choose one and reveal them, so I could use that one. Lannister, he has some as well. So each side picks a card in secret, and then they reveal for this part of it. So Lannister gets to add 3 to his 1, so that's 4. I get to add 2 to my 3, so that's 5, so I would win. There's also, I would have the choice of using the Valyrian Blade, because I have this. This gives you a +1, and again, this is the advantage given by being at the top of, I'll just move the camera down to here, at the top of the influence track. Now, we already talked about the Raven during the Orders phase. The sword here is helped during combat, and the Iron Throne we'll talk about in a minute. So let's fly back up here. So if I could use this if I wanted to add a +1. I don't need to, but I could. And I win pretty much. If it was a draw, whoever is the highest on the influence track, there you go, yeah, the fiefdoms, that determines the winner. So whoever's the highest on there in the draw would win the combat. So we'll zoom back up here. So if you lose, you don't have to worry, because just normal combat, there's no casualties. What happens is you retreat. You retreat and you put yourself down, and that's pretty much it really. You can only retreat to territories that you own, but you're quite vulnerable like that. If you are attacked again in that state, you'll be destroyed. So if you're attacked again this turn, you'll be destroyed. You get to right yourself before the next turn. Unfortunately, I mean, that's how it goes usually. These cards, if there's a sword, it means you can inflict a casualty. Now I've got 1 sword, it means I can inflict a casualty that way. He's got 3, which means I'm pretty much scuppered. Also, some of these cards have little castle symbols on, that sort of protects yourself from a sword. So I don't want to take 1 casualty in that case. So that's it. So combat is, you add up the units, you use cards, add up the cards, support can get involved, and that's combat in a nutshell really. So I'll just tie these cards up. Now, so that would be a round. You plan, you move, you can regain power, and that would be a full turn. Now at the beginning of the turn, this is what we missed, and this is what happens at the beginning of every usual turn, you have these cards here. And you turn over each one in turn and resolve it. So let's say we've had a turn, we go to the first card, supply. I've cunningly put that there on purpose, so you know what goes on. What supply means is, if we have a look back at the board, every territory that you have that has a little barrel icon on gives you a supply point. And if you come down to the supply chart here, the more supply points you have, the bigger the army you can have. Now an army is any unit size of 2 or more basically. So if you put 2 units on the same territory, that's classed as an army. So Stark can have an army of 3 and an army of 2. Whereas Baratheon and Lannister can have an army of 3 and 2 armies of 2. So what happens is when you pull that card, you have to, if any of your territories has changed, say you've got more barrel icons or less barrel icons, at this point you have to move the supply to reflect it. If you've lost territory with barrel icons and it has to go down, and you have less armies, you then have to remove units to bring the army sizes down to what your supply now is. So that can be dangerous. If you have lost a lot of territories with supply points, you want to be wary of that card coming up because it could really cause you a headache. Okay, so that's the supply. So we'll come back up here. And the other thing we've got in this deck as well, and I'll cheat and I'll show you the next card down, is mustering. Mustering is, that's the only time really you get to get more troops. Whenever that card comes up, every castle or stronghold that you possess, you can generate muster points where you can add more troops. So set up here, so this I think generates 2 muster points, I think. So in theory I could put 2 footmen on there. You can also upgrade a footman to a knight for a point. So mustering is where you get more guys. So this little deck here is quite important. So you've got supply cards, got mustering. There's other unpleasant things that can happen here. Sometimes nothing happens. There's other various things that happen through there. You can have a bit of a guide. Okay, anyway, so you pull that, resolve that. The next one, Clash of Kings. Now, this is the meat of the game in my opinion. This is where a lot of the interesting stuff happens. As soon as this happens, you have to bid. You have to bid on the influence track. So everybody takes a secret amount of tokens, puts them in the hand. You do the Iron Throne first, I think, then the Fiefdoms, then the King's Court in turn. So if you go in heavy to begin with and bid high for the King's Court, and then you've got nothing left for the Fiefdom, which means you're going to be rubbish in combat and always lose ties, and you're going to be rubbish for the King's Court. So, and again, I'll talk about these stars in a minute. So, so you start off with the Iron Throne, everybody votes. On a tie, even if the winner ties, he still has the Iron Throne. So remember, whoever has the Iron Throne gets to choose the winner of any tie. So you all vote. Whoever gets the highest goes to the top, and next one down goes next one down. You go through all the bidding until you've done that. And if you run out, you run out. That's just how it goes. So if you come back down here, I'll tell you about this now. The King's Court. So we know the benefits of this track. This track is if you tie in combat. This is the turn order. I'm there as Baratheon and I've got 1 star. What that means is the order counters, some of them are special counters that have extra abilities and they have little stars on. I can only use 1 of those. Stark can use 2 of those and Lannister can use 3 of those. So that can be quite important. Not only does it mean that you've got the special bonus of whatever order it is, it also means you've got an additional one to use because they are limited. So you've only got so many march orders. That means you can use an additional one. So that's quite important. Okay, so that's the second deck of cards there. So the third deck, we'll flip this one just as an example. Wildlings Attack. So another threat to the board, which is a bit of an unknown at any time, is the Wildling threat. So if you get a card that says Wildling Attack, then you immediately resolve the attack. However, some of these cards, and I'll show you, have a Wildling symbol on. Okay. If you see that Wildling symbol, if you zoom the camera over here, you move the marker up a notch. And when it gets to 12, it's the equivalent of pulling a Wildling Attack. The Wildlings will attack. Something bad is going to happen. So whenever that happens, reset it to 0 and you pull a card. So the card, it tells you how to resolve it. What you've got to do is all the houses have got to sort of pull together to beat the threat. And you've got to bid an amount of power that is equal to or higher than whatever the threat level is on the track. So obviously the more the threat, the more resource everybody has to pull together to beat it. So everybody bids in secret. If you win, and if you beat the wildling threat, then generally something good happens, and whoever was the highest bidder and the most generous, something good happens to them specifically. If you lose, whoever was stingy and whoever was the lowest bidder, something bad generally happens. So again, that's quite interesting, and a pretty good mechanic. So that's that. So then once you've flipped over all those cards, again, you place the orders, you flip the orders, and then you resolve them all. You do it for 10 turns. At the end of each turn, you move the counter up. At the end of the 10th turn, you see who has the most strongholds. So there you go. I mean, it's a really good game. There's a lot in it, so I hope I've done a good enough overview for you. I know that sort of gets across the rules more or less and the feel of the game. So there we go, there you have it. It's on the store currently if you want to go and take a look at www.grimtreegames.com. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we've got a forum so you can come and have a look. We do a lot of these videos, so we're hoping to do a lot more, so come back and check out the YouTube channel. And I'll see you again, so thanks a lot, bye bye.